Okay, everyone, welcome to the conference with le Cercle des Langues. Tonight we are going to be discussing how to form negative sentences. Tonight's conference is level A1 to A2. We will do the presentation for 25 minutes, and for the last 5 minutes, we will have a question and answer. So please feel free to write your questions on a piece of paper, or you can put your questions into the chat so that afterwards I will answer your questions and we can look at them together. Okay? So let's begin. Juste pour information, la présentation, le PDF sera envoyé après le conférence aujourd'hui. So, vous allez le recevoir par email. Alors, so let's go. Today we are looking at 4 parts. 4 parts. The first one is the structure with to be. Ça veut dire que qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec le négation, avec être. The second will be using do not or does not. Parce que do not, le verbe do, c'est un auxiliaire. Donc, so on utilise le verbe do aussi. The third will be modal verbs. What do we do with modal verbs? And the fourth, the past tense. What do we do with the past tense and negatives? Please feel free to take notes during the presentation to review later. So let's look at the structure with the verb to be. Basic negative sentences structure with to be. To form negative sentences with the verb to be, you simply add not after the verb to be. This structure works for all forms of to be. For example, am, is, are, was, or were. For example, she is not my teacher. We are not friends. Donc, c'est avec être, on ajoute not juste après. On n'ajoute pas, par exemple, avec does and do not, on ajoute que not. So we only add not after the verb to create the negative. So what is the structure? For the present simple, we have the subject. So I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they, plus the verb to be in the present tense, am, is, or are, plus the word not, and then the rest of the sentence. For example, I am not tired. For the present continuous, an action that we are performing at the moment of speaking, we have the subject plus am, is, or are, plus not, plus the verb ing. For example, they are not playing. For the past simple, we will have the subject plus was and were, because the past tense of the verb to be, am, is, are, is, was, and were. We add not and then the rest of the sentence. For example, she was not at home. So with the structure to be, we can see the positive. I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are, and they are. But my negative is I am not, you are not, he or she or it is not, we are not, and they are not. We also have a contraction. The contraction makes the word or the phrase smaller. And for I am not, it becomes I'm not. So we take away the A and we add an apostrophe. You are not becomes you aren't. So we take away the O from not and we add an apostrophe. He or she or it is not becomes he or she or it isn't. So we take away the O and we add an apostrophe. We are not, we aren't. Again, we take away the O and we add an apostrophe. They are not becomes they aren't. We take away the O and we add an apostrophe. That is the present simple. In the past simple, we have I, he or she or it was, you, we, and they were. For the negative, I, he, she, or it was not, or you, we, they were not. For the contraction, we take away the O and we add an apostrophe. I, he, she, it wasn't, you, we, they weren't. If we go into the present continuous, I am playing, I am not playing, I am not playing. You are playing, you are not playing, you aren't playing. He, she, it is playing, he, she, it is not playing. He, she, it isn't playing. We are playing, we are not playing, we aren't playing. They are playing, they are not playing, they aren't playing. It's good to know that you can use the negative in full, they are not playing, and you can use the contraction. So, tous les deux sont corrects. 2 tips on forming the negative. Always place not directly after the verb to be. For example, she is not happy. Use contractions to make your sentences sound more natural and conversational. He isn't here. So here we've got some exercises and I would like you to put your answers in the chat. So let's have a look. She is not, she are not, she am not at school today. What do you think? They was not, were not, is not playing outside yesterday. I am not, is not, are not ready for the test. So, Frederic said is not, Raymond said is not, Stephanie said is not for the first one. Thank you so much. Let's look at number 2. What do you think? Raymond, they were not. Thank you, Raymond. Stephanie says were not. Beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. And Frederic says were not. That is correct. Let's look at number 3. I am not, is not, or are not. Lovely. So Stephanie says am not. Frederic says am not. And Raymond says am not. 100% correct. So here we can see the response or the correct answers. So now we are going to look at do not and does not. To form negative sentences with the verbs other than to be, we use do not or does not before the base form of the verb. The choice between do not and does not depends on the subject of the sentence. So, for the present simple, for the subjects I, you, we, and they, we use the subject plus do not plus the base verb and then the rest of the sentence. For example, they do not or don't like tea. For subjects he, she, or it, it's the third person, le troisième personne singulier. We have the subject plus does not plus the base verb and then the rest of the sentence. For example, he does not or doesn't play football. So here we have the same example. You can see I play, I do not play, I don't play. You play, you do not play, you don't play. He or she or it, he plays, he does not play, he doesn't play. We play, we do not play, we don't play. They play, they do not play, they don't play. So to form the negative with do not and does not, we need to remember the subject-verb agreement. Use does not with he, she, and it, and do not with I, you, we, and they. For example, she does not or doesn't understand versus they do not or don't understand. The second tip is to use the base form of the verb. After do not and does not, always use the base form of the verb, not the conjugated form. For example, he does not or doesn't run fast. Not, he does not runs fast. Parce que normalement, on a la conjugaison avec le S pour troisième personne. Mais on a déjà conjugué l'auxiliaire. Ça veut dire qu'on n'a pas besoin de conjuguer le verbe principal. So let's practice forming negatives from affirmative sentences. You can choose which one. So the first one we have is she likes chocolate. We visit the museum every Sunday. He plays the piano well. They know the answer. I enjoy reading books. So please feel free to choose a sentence and put it in the chat. Change it into the negative. And we are going to have a look at it in a minute. Wonderful. So, Raymond says she doesn't like chocolate. Remember, Raymond, it is she doesn't like chocolate. She doesn't like chocolate. Thank you, Stephanie. She doesn't like chocolate. Frederic, she doesn't like chocolate. Sigrid, she doesn't like chocolate. We visit, yes Raymond, she doesn't like chocolate. Done, c'est le troisième groupe de verbe do. She doesn't like chocolate. Ça, c'est le bon. Number 2, we visit the museum. We don't visit the museum every Sunday. Thank you, Sandrine. What else? He plays the piano well. He plays. Yes, we do not visit. Thank you, Frederic. We don't visit the museum every Sunday. Perfect. He plays the piano. He doesn't play the piano well. He doesn't play the piano well. Number 4. Thank you, Frederic. He doesn't play the piano well. Number 4. They know the answer. They know the answer. What is the negative? Thank you, Sandrine. They don't know the answer. Sigrid, they don't know. Stephanie, they don't know. Frederic, they don't know. 100%. Number 5, I enjoy reading books. I enjoy reading books. I don't enjoy reading books. Thank you, Sandrine. Stephanie, I don't enjoy reading books. Parfait. Sigrid, I don't enjoy reading books. Parfait. Frederic, I do not enjoy reading books. So these are how we turn them into the negative. And you will see on the next page we have the negative answers. Let's look at modal verbs. We have one more response. Raymond, I don't enjoy reading books. Thank you so much. Let's look at modal verbs. Modal verbs show possibility, intent, ability, or necessity. Common examples of modal verbs include can, should, and must. To form negative sentences with modal verbs, for example, can, will, must, and should, you should simply add not after the modal verb. So like we did with être, we just add not. It's important to know that modal verbs do not change form according to the subject. So what does that mean? For example, if I put it in the chat, I will say, I must. But if I look at the others, I must, you must, he must, she must, we must, they must. That means there is no conjugation. It stays must for all the subjects. So with modal verbs, there is no conjugation changes. Our structure is a subject plus the modal verb plus not plus the base verb plus the rest of the sentence. For example, he cannot swim. He can't swim. So you see, we have our modal verbs. I can play, I cannot play, I can't play. You will go, you will not go, you won't go. She must leave, she must not leave, she mustn't leave. We should eat, we should not eat, we shouldn't eat. They may come, they may not come, they mayn't come. But that is rarely used, c'est très rare. We just say we may not come. 2 tips for forming the negative. We place not directly after the modal verb. For example, they should not or shouldn't worry. Number 2, we use contractions to sound more natural. So it is used in spoken and informal written English. He cannot do it, he can't do it. Even though it is more natural to use the apostrophe, the contraction, you can use the full word, the full phrase, if you prefer. So we are going to try to complete the following story by forming negative sentences with will, may, must, and should. So let's write our answers in the chat. Alice wants to go to the party, but she forget to do her homework first. So we needed negative. So pour une petite indice, elle ne doit pas oublier. What is that word that we are going to use? Thank you, Sandrine. She mustn't forget to do her homework first. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Raymond. Let's look at number 2. Her friend Tom let her go alone, so he decides to join her. Her friend Tom. So we now need devrait. What is the negative? Thank you, Stephanie. Should not. Thank you, Sandrine. Should not. Raymond, should not. Her friend Tom should not let her go alone, so he decides to join her. They arrive at the venue, but the security guard says they enter without invitations. Frédéric should not. D'accord, je comprends. La prochaine. Is anyone else? Will not, won't. Okay. Will not. Thank you, Stephanie. Number 4, disappointed. They realize that they have assumed they could just walk in. Donc, ça peut être un peu compliqué. So on va regarder les réponses. Alice wants to go to the party, but she must not forget to do her homework first. Her friend Tom, it's not should not. It is will not let her go home alone, so he decides to join her. They arrive at the venue, but the security guard says they may not enter without invitations. Disappointed, they realize they should not have assumed they could just walk in. So thank you everyone for your responses. Let's look at the past tense. To form negative sentences in the past tense, we use did not or didn't, followed by the base form of the verb. The auxiliary verb did indicates the past tense, so the main verb remains in its base form. For example, he didn't go to the gym this morning. Vous pouvez voir qu'en fait, c'est que l'auxiliaire qui change. C'est pas le verbe principal. Let's look at the structure. We have the subject plus did not plus the base verb and then the rest of the sentence. For example, she didn't go to the meeting. We did not or we didn't finish the project on time. So here you can see I played, I did not play, I didn't play. You visited, you did not visit, you didn't visit. He saw, he did not see, he didn't see. We ate, we did not eat, we didn't eat. They watched, they did not watch, they didn't watch. 2 tips on forming the negative. We use did not for all our subjects. Unlike present tense, did not is used uniformly across all subjects. They did not or didn't finish the project. Use the base form of the verb. Always follow did not with the base form of the main verb. For example, she did not or didn't take the bus. Not she did not took the bus. So only the auxiliary verb is conjugated in the past. So here we have a conversation example. John says, "Did you finish the report yesterday?" Sarah says, "No, I didn't finish it. I did not have enough time." John says, "That's okay. I didn't submit mine either." Sarah says, We did not realize how much work was left to do. So, conclusion. In English, forming negative sentences varies depending on the verb and the tense. For the verb to be, add not directly after the verb, while for other verbs, use do not or does not in the present tense and did not in the past tense, always followed by the base form of the main verb. Understanding these structures helps in constructing clear and grammatically correct negative sentences. So, to be, she is not my best friend. He is not my teacher. In the present simple, I don't want to go to the cinema tonight. She doesn't like this city. And the past simple, I didn't take English courses at the school. He didn't wash the dishes this morning. So thank you everyone for joining me for this conference this evening. Do you have any questions or comments that you would like to make about tonight's presentation? You can now unmute your microphones. No? It was all good? Wonderful. So remember everyone, you will be sent the conference via email, and you can look at the rules again and you can check the examples to help you conjugate with the negative in the future. Okay? So thank you everyone. Have a wonderful weekend and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.